My manager on the car lot pulled me into this office one day and he goes, hey, it's your 6th month here, you're not selling anything, you're a loser, we're gonna fire you. I'm like, let me see what's on YouTube. This guy right here pops up, this bald dude. And I'm like, how to sell more cars in 30 days. That's what I need right now. I got 30 days to freaking hit my damn quota. Well, I plugged in harder, I went psycho, I moved to a different dealership that paid a lot better, became the #1 salesman, started making $25,000, $30,000 a month. I'll never forget the look on my manager's face when after he handed me a $25,000 check, I was like, I think this is my last day. Now, I want to get into the value and break this down for you guys. So here's 3 things that are like really, really important to me, right?
#1 coach, 7-figure earner, Brendan Whitty. Get up here, brother.
Come on, baby. Come on. Everybody just jam out for a second. I'm just kidding. All right, so what do you guys think so far? The Macklin twins? Let's go. All right, so I want to kick this off. First thing I want to do, because Ian and Evan, dude, they brought the heat, and I want to take their souls with the amount of energy you guys have. So let's get everybody stand up. You know what I'm saying? By the way, some people yawned a little bit. Let's stay in the state. Is everybody here to win? Recreate? Awesome. Let's go. All right, so I literally just want everybody to say this on 3. 1, 2, 3, recreate. You ready? Louder, a little bit louder than that. All right, we ready? 1, 2, 3!
Recreate!
All right, that's it. Your homework's done. Y'all can sit down. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so I titled this, The 3 Secrets to Breaking Records in Sales, and I'll tell you guys a quick story. So, I kind of got a nickname by accident here that I didn't really plan when I joined the Elliott Group, and they called me the Velvet Hammer. I'll never forget, I was at dinner with Andy, and a client, he goes, dude, Brendan, that dude's like the Velvet Hammer. He's like silent but deadly. And I was like, Andy, I want to be the sledgehammer. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, okay, and I started pondering on it. I was like, you know what? I like that nickname because one thing about me, and I'll show you guys in a minute, is like, I'm an underdog. Raise your hand if you're an underdog. Okay, so that was me, and I'll show you the transformation I had. But I was like, you know what? One of my favorite things, I'm a sports guy, and I've always been counted out, is like when people least expect me, and then I just freaking blow their mind. So, I leaned into it. I was like, I'm going to be the Velvet Hammer. I was mid-pack, and I don't like being anything but the best. And I was like, you know what? I'm not the loudest. I'm not the best. I'm not the most talented. I said, I'm going to get results so good that it's going to be undeniable that when I walk in a room, somebody wants to know what I know. Can you guys relate to that? Yeah. So that was me. So I said, I'm going to lean into it. And I want to show you this really quick in case you can relate. You're an underdog. I want to show you what's possible because this is what was possible for me. And 3 years ago, I sat like right over there, dude with the backwards hat, my guy looking like a straight stud. I sat over in that seat. I was at an event just like this, same room, a lot less people, and I was super broke. And I was just like, oh man, what if I could ever do something great with my life? Like I didn't know if I was qualified. Well, 3 years later, like the transformation that happened in me is now my belief is there, my life's great. And it's because of the things I'm going to talk about. So 2024 Salesman of the Year, $50,000 Rolex watch for breaking a record, and then living a lifestyle I used to dream of. So this right here, let's all give it up for my fiance, Gia. She's in the house. Gia's a savage. Raise your hand if you're in a relationship. And raise your hand if your partner's here with you. Man, you winning, dog. You winning. Let's go. So me and Gia, we travel the world. We live a lifestyle way past what we ever thought we were going to do. This is the Rolex from the Elliots. And then right here, this is something that's really special to me. So I grew up in a super small town. I had a basketball coach that pretty much saved my life. And this past year, I was able to donate some money to his foundation, Coaches versus Cancer. So that's the type of stuff that you can actually do when you win, right? And that's the type of stuff that drives me the most. And that's really what my talk today is all about. all this stuff right here, that was just bait. That was just to catch your attention. But honestly, this right here is the real win. So I want to go back through my recreation with you guys because it's important you understand, like if I'm going to show you something, like I didn't start out with like wealthy parents. I didn't have the white picket fence. Sometimes people see me and they're like, dude, you look like you came from a trust fund. I'm like, I wish, bro. I'd be a lot richer than I am right now. I wish I had some capital to start. So this is me right here. I was in high school, and I grew up divorced parents at 3 years old. All my family members, drugs, alcohol, you name it. Some of them have passed away. A lot of them still struggle to this day. Paycheck to paycheck, never had money, right? When I was young, I needed an escape. Who played sports in here? Hell yeah, athletes are dangerous. So for me, I was like, you know what my escape's gonna be from this shitty day-to-day life that I live in? Pardon my cussing. I said, I wanna play sports. I gotta feel like I'm good at something, right? So I started playing basketball, and I loved when I could go out there and just forget about everything else and just lock in on the court, right? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna see if I can go pro. I had a whole business plan, everything was cool. But you know how life is when you get plans. You know how God works, right? So I didn't go to the NBA, FYI. So my downfall was this. I got older, 16, 17 years old. I was drinking beers with the boys and living the normal high school lifestyle. But I started to experiment drugs, alcohol, all the things that the external world offered me, right? And I fell prey to it. I thought, you know what? I also want to freaking do drugs, alcohol. I can do it all. Well, what happened was I went off the deep end. I dropped out of college, and I literally for the next 3 years became a complete drug addict, piece of shit, let my whole family down, right? I just became a complete loser. Has anybody hit rock bottom before? Yeah. We're the most dangerous people in the room, I promise you. No one will step up to the plate or put their ass on the line like an underdog. Am I correct? Some of you have been to rock bottom before? So I hit my rock bottom, and you can see right here, like I totaled 2 cars. I was working a glorious job pushing carts at Walmart, and I had honestly given up. Like I honestly gave up on myself. I was like, you know what? I'm just not meant to do anything special. And honestly, a lot of people ask me all the time, they're like, hey, did you ever imagine you'd be where you're at right now? I'm like, honestly, no. I thought I would be dead, and I thought if I just made it, to retirement, I'd be okay, right? Well, what happened was I had a turning point. I got to the point where I just accepted. I thought to myself, like, I'm just depressed. I'm just a depressed person. Like, maybe success isn't meant for me. Maybe I'm just not that guy, right? And I started, like, deciding, I said, I'm either going to have to take my life or get my life back, okay? And I started going on runs, and I started trying to listen to more positive stuff. I had trash in my brain. Anybody had trash in their brain? I was around the wrong people, getting the wrong information. Everything was shit. And then I was running one day, and I remember I was running, and the audio said, dude, I just want to run because I just don't want to be a freaking loser. I don't want to be a loser anymore. And it fired me up. I was like, dude, I don't want to be a loser anymore. And I started to look around, and I was 21 years old, had been drugs, drinking, not caring. And I remember I'd start going to bars, and I'd see people that are 30, 40, 50 years old that are talking, they're still people. You know what I'm talking about? Still broke, still complaining, still not the hero for their family, still losers, still blaming things on everybody else but themselves, the person in the mirror. And I said, I would rather die than that be the end of my story. One of the most powerful things is like you get to determine where you're at in your story. You get to write the next chapter. So if you're not happy with where your life's at right now, you're the author. So you can quickly turn your story around. And what I did was I said, I can look at things, everything has a meaning behind it, right? What's your meaning right now in your life, where you're at? What's your meaning? Is your meaning this is the end? Is that the meaning? Or is the meaning this is the beginning of something new? This is the beginning of my comeback. So I convinced myself, the biggest sell you'll ever make is selling yourself. Am I correct? Yes. I had to sell myself, and I said, you know what? Maybe all that other stuff is just weakness, and maybe I can actually rebound this. So started working out, started working on myself, met my fiance, come on. And then I realized I needed to learn a high income skill, right? I was listening to YouTube videos. I didn't go to college. I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's because of my resume. It looked so bad, right? Well, sure enough, I'm at a bar one night, and I'm talking to a guy who was wearing a suit, and he runs a car dealership, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a job right now. I'm kind of broke. He's like, how much you make? I'm like, $2,000 a month. He's like, do you have a driver's license? I'm like, yep. He's like, you're hired. Let's come sell cars tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, this is great. Now I get to wear a suit. Now I'm gonna be successful. So fast forward, I got in, but I wasn't getting any traction. And look, here's a beautiful picture of my house I lived in. It was awesome. It was a nice little apartment me and Gia lived in. We lived in that corner one right there. We did not have a washer and dryer, so we used a laundromat. That was humbling. As like a 22-year-old selling cars, using the laundromat, barely being able to afford a couple $100 a month rent. So I was going really hard. I worked for 6 months and I had no traction at all, right? My 6th month, I identified that I had an enemy in life. Patrick Bet David always says, the one thing you need is what? An enemy. So I was like, okay, I got one by accident. My manager on the car lot pulled me into this office one day and he goes, hey, it's your 6th month here. You're not selling anything. You're a loser. We're going to fire you. We can't technically fire you right now. So we're going to put a quota on you of 8 cars. And when you don't hit your 8 cars, we're going to fire you. Understood? And I walked out and I was like, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to go back to working at Walmart. I wasn't even meant to have this life anyways, right? Well, I went home and I looked up on YouTube motivational stuff. I'm like, let me see what's on YouTube. This guy right here pops up, this bald dude. And I'm like, how to sell more cars in 30 days. That's what I need right now. I got 30 days to freaking hit my damn quota. So I start devouring it. Have you guys ever heard, and I'm assuming you have because all of you are in this room right now, have you guys ever heard somebody talk in past tense about their story and you're like, that's exactly what I'm going through right now? That was me with every video Andy put on. Everything I'm telling you, if you relate, that's because I've been there before. So I said, okay, this guy's my enemy. I got 2 options. Quit like a little bee. I called myself, let's go. Or burn his eyes out with success. You want to know which one I chose? I decided to torment him. So the next month, I go in and I sold the most cars in the dealership. And what happened that changed everything for me was I got my paycheck the next month. And mind you, I'm used to collecting baby paychecks, $2,000 or something. And I get a paycheck for 5 figures. And who remembers their first big, juicy commission check? You felt like Bill Gates, didn't you? I was like, dude, how much does a world cost? I'll buy it right now. I don't care. So I took home a check, and I remember I was driving that night, and I called Gia, and I'm like, hey, I don't think we need to use the laundromat anymore. I think we need to get a new apartment. And also we need a new car because mine's got a wheel that looks like it's bowed in or something. Like it drives kind of crooked. So our whole life changed. I started crying, tearing up. I just can't imagine what the future holds. Well, I plugged in harder. I went psycho. I moved to a different dealership that paid a lot better, became the #1 salesman, started making $25,000, $30,000 a month. And then I was like, okay, there was one point in my life where I thought I was never going to make it. And now I thought, what happens if I keep going down this little rabbit hole, right? Who in here has complete clarity on their vision and where they want to go in life? And okay, cool. So a few of you, who's got a little blurry right now? And you're maybe here looking for some clarity. Who wrote clarity for intentions? If you don't have clarity, just be the best at whatever you're doing right now. That's the best way to find clarity. The opportunities will find you. So because I was selling cars, and I didn't plan on selling cars forever. I wanted something bigger, but I knew no one's going to hire an average car salesman to go do something great. You got to stand out by being the best. Does that make sense? So I said, I'm going to stand out. So I went hard, tagged Andy in every video. Guys, what's up? It's there's a deal today, $500 off if you refer your friend, whatever, right? Well, sure enough, something that I never thought would happen happened. February, I get a text from Andy, and he says, hey, you should move out here. So we come out, have a conversation, and literally on the snap of a fingers, me and Gia moved out here. We packed our stuff. I quit my job selling cars. I'll never forget the look on my manager's face when after he handed me a $25,000 check. I was like, I think this is my last day. He was like, I was like, I'm gonna go sell courses. And he's like, dude, I don't know about you. I think you're kind of losing it. I think you're lost in the sauce right now. So the rest is history, though. It turned out good. We've been changing lives. This right here, the greatest part about what we do is you get to live a rich life. That's what everybody should strive for. You don't get money, but you actually get to help people and do something meaningful. I got a couple clients that are tuned in today. Some of them are here live, like this guy right here, Cullen. Cullen, raise your hand. Everybody look at this cat right here. So this dude's been working with me for a year. We have similar stories. He's an underdog too. He cracked 6 figures last year in the car business for the first time in his life. And this dude's coming for the world. Now, I want to get into the value and break this down for you guys. So here's 3 things that are like really, really important to me, right? When I look at what's different about me, because I could teach you guys the sales process, but let's be real, like Andy's gonna bust you guys up tomorrow, okay? Like all of you are gonna get new birth certificates, you know? So I was like, okay, what are some secrets that are different about me? How can I help somebody be different and sell more than anybody else? So these are my strengths. So number 1, for those of you who remember, who's been to a seminar a couple years ago? Okay, a couple people. You guys remember, Andy, we didn't used to, you see these whiteboards right here, like these boards? These cost money, like a lot of money. We used to have whiteboards, and Andy would draw on the whiteboard what he wanted to talk about for the seminar. So when I came out here October 2021, Andy wrote this on the whiteboard. And this is the first lesson where I'm gonna start. I saw this, and then Andy kind of broke it down throughout the day, and it made so much sense to me that today I have it framed on my wall and in my office so I never forget. Because the first step of changing your life is forgiving yourself. See, because I talk to people all the time and I'm like, dude, you carry a lot of shame and guilt. Like I talk to people who have crazy backstories, right? Drugs, alcohol, divorces, trauma. Raise your hand if you've had any of that before. The number 1 thing you have to do is give yourself some grace. Right? God gives everyone grace. That's how God saved my life, is he gave me some grace. And I realized I was being way too hard on myself. And number 2, I didn't think I deserved a good life. I think people, see, I talk to people all the time. I'm like, do you think you deserve to make 6 figures or $1 million a year? I think I deserve it. You don't think that because you already would. You would already give yourself the permission to go take the actions to go do it, because it's not harder to make $1 million than it is to make $100 grand. It's just the types of decisions you make. Does that make sense? So first things first, I want everybody to say this. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. But don't say it like you don't mean it. You sound like you're freaking sleeping. Okay? Say it again. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. There we go. All right. Number 2, the secret to conquering self-doubt. Because I see this is the number 1 thing I see a lot of people struggle with. So I remember about 1.5 years ago, I was stuck where I was at. I had a belief issue. And I remember Andy put on a spiff for a Breitling watch, right? And I remember I was sitting in that room and I was like, I don't know if I'm able to do that. Like, I don't know if that's for me. And I realized that doubt had ran my entire life growing up, and it runs everybody's life until they decide not to let it run their life. So I go, you know what? I go out that month and I try to hit it and I miss it. I missed it. I didn't win the watch. And then a couple of my teammates won, and that's the value of being on a great team, is like a couple people hit it, and it inspired me. And I was like, dude, I want to be that guy that wins the watch. Like, I deserve it. I'd now gotten past the forgive myself part, and now I just doubted myself. So it killed me to not get something I knew I deserved. So I said, you know what? I'm going to outwork my self-doubt. So what have we said today? We said earlier, Evan, he was talking about, you can't manage the outcome, but what you can manage is the input. Does that make sense? And what happens in life is when you unlock a new level of results, you get rewarded with a new identity. Does that make sense? Yes. So for me, like when I came to my first event, I had a low identity, a low viewpoint on myself. But then what I decided was, I said, I want to get a new one. So I had to go get new results. So I put in double the work, got the results, and then I figured out how to make it sustainable with my identity. Now, last one here. So Patrick Bet-David, he talks about there's 4 areas that drive people. And I would snap a picture of this and research it and figure out which one of these drives you. Which one of these drives you the most? It's going to change over time. But you have to figure out where you're currently at, which ones drive you the most, because that's how you're going to motivate yourself to reach a new level. And then I want everybody to write this down. Seldom will I ever earn as much, and never will I ever earn more than whatever I view as a lot of money. Seldom will I ever earn as much, and never will I ever earn more than whatever I view as a lot of money. I talk to a lot of people and they're like, wow, you made 25 grand a month selling cars? And I'm like, dude, I was broke. If you make 25 grand a month, you're broke. But that's my perspective now, because that's my circle and that's what's relative to me, right? So what a lot of you guys need to do is go from, I come from a small town. So when I was selling cars, making 25 grand a month, I was viewed like a celebrity. Like they were like, oh, that's the guy that makes 13 grand a month after taxes. That guy's rich. Take that guy to dinner. So I realized when I got out here, I told Andy, I walked in my first seminar, or my third one actually, and at this point I was now making 25 grand a month. I come up to Andy and I'm like, Andy, I'm making 25 grand a month. And he goes, and? I make that in a day. And I'm like, there's levels to the game. You're correct, sir. Let me go to work. Let me get back to work. Stop running my mouth. Now here's a quick tip for you guys. I say up your ask. I didn't cuss. You got to listen carefully. I said up your ask. That means whatever you currently sell your services for, just test me on this. Offer 120% from now on. Like if you sell your product for 10 grand, it's time to raise prices. You're like, oh man, but what if? No. Like, let's raise our prices. Let's value yourself for a minute, right? Value yourself. You don't value yourself, nobody else will. Does that all make sense? Mastering the inner game to you guys? Is that clicking? Everybody cool? Should I go to the next one?
Yeah.
All right, let's get it. All right, number 2, learn how to create more leverage. So as a salesperson or a business owner, you got 2 paths, right? This path right here is where most people go. They don't want to, how many of you guys like maybe talk to a friend about coming to an event? They're like, I don't know, man. Like I got to work. I got to stay back. Like what if I miss a deal? Bro, what if you don't learn how to do your job and you stay broke forever? So a lot of people, they can't build something that'll reap the rewards forever. They see Ian's speech. Did Ian kill it on the branding?
Yep.
They see what Ian does and they go, well, I'd like to do that, but that's going to take me a lot of time. Do you know how much time it's going to buy you back when you have people beating down your door and you don't have to cold call people anymore? Do you guys know how much time that would save you? That would be called leverage. Now this other guy over here, and this was me when I got smart, was I said, I'm going to build a brand, build the right relationships. I'm not going to spend my money on Lamborghinis and Ferraris until I can buy them cash twice. And then I'm going to reap the rewards of leverage. You can't, no matter how skilled you are, no matter how fast you think you move or how you do your job better than anybody else does it, you can't beat someone that's got more leverage than you. You can't outwork 20 people even if you're the best at what you do. So here's a couple different types of leverage. So this is my Instagram in the past 90 days. I show this only for one reason. If I how many days do you think it'd take me to cold call 2.7 million people? What do you guys think?
You die.
Okay, but I can post reels, chop up stuff where I'm cracking jokes and demonstrating my expertise, and then 2.7 million people can see it, and then the ones that are interested are gonna come through the funnel, and then I'm not gonna have to cold call and go, hey, do you wanna buy my stuff? They're gonna come to me and say, hey, I wanna hear more about what you do. Does that make sense? So if you guys aren't already closed, our first close for this weekend is trying to close you on building a brand. Because some of you guys are still like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to pull out that camera. How do you start making content? You get your phone out, you turn it around, you just start talking. Crazy, right? That's the craziest part. Now, people, super simple. An individual can be beat, but a team can't be beat. Also, one thing I was super guilty of, I was making $100,000 a month, and someone came up to me and they said, hey, what does your week look like? And I said, I work 80 hours a week. I spend 20 hours a week doing support tickets, booking calls, etc. And the guy's like, wait a minute, that's a low income producing task. Why are you doing that? I said, well, because no one else can do it better than me. He said, let me ask you a question. Do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? Which one? I was like, I'd take the latter. I'll take the latter. So he's like, dude, how about you hire someone to replace you so that you don't have to spend your time on a low income task and you can go back doing high leverage activities. How does that sound? Learned how to do it, helped my income. Number 3 is knowledge, right? That's why all of you guys are here right now. It's because the ultimate leverage is knowledge. Like I read my first book at 21 years old and that's what changed my life. That's what got me on the right track. And I read the book and I was like, dude, this guy made millions. He wrote this book over 10 years and I stole it for 2 hours on Audible. Like that's nuts. It was a short book. But I was like, that's nuts. That's crazy. What else can I steal, right? So you guys are all here. You're learning from, a handful of all of our top coaches that are all amazing in their own right. Andy tomorrow, and a ton of other great speakers. And you guys get to steal our lessons and leverage the knowledge. Does that make sense? So a lot of times people are like, hey, I got 10 grand, I got 5 grand in the bank. What's the best investment to make? I'm like, you want me to be honest with you? Not crypto right now, dog. How about you invest in the S&P 500? That's where you actually learn how to make money. So you can actually go do something. Invest enough capital that it actually produces some passive income, right? That's why most people never get that. And last one, and this is my secret weapon, I promise you. And this is like a topic where most people tune out, and that's why they'll never be rich. So I wrote down 2 books that changed my life, and there's 2 secrets in both these books I'm gonna go over that will change the game for you on relationships. One is how to win friends and influence people. So there's a story in this book about a guy named Charles Schwab. He was some rich guy. And he said every Sunday he took 3 hours, disappeared from his family, locked himself in his office, and reviewed every conversation he had throughout every week. And he thought about, where am I at in this relationship? How could I influence this person more? How could I get them to like me more? What could I have done differently in my interactions with that person? You guys follow? So I read this book and I was like, well, Charles Schwab, older rich guy, I'm gonna take his advice. So I go, you know what? Every Sunday, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna look at all my relationships. And then I learned in the 7 habits that you should look at relationships like they're a bank account. So if I were to go ask a client to spend $500, but they don't see the value over $300, are they gonna buy? That would be like me going to an ATM and trying to pull out $500 when I got $2 in there. It doesn't work. I tried it when I was 18. So I literally pulled both these rules, and what I do now and how I build relationships is super simple. This is my process. If you learn how to if you just took this from the whole weekend, you guys would all be millionaires in a very short amount of time. Learn how to find, nurture, and utilize relationships. Now, every word's important. Some people glance over the words, they scan it, but they don't download it in their brain. Find means this: know your ideal clients. A lot of you guys came out here and you guys have clients sitting right next to you that you don't even know. Like, look, I know, a lot of these guys over here are rich, right? We got some killers over here. And before you guys were looking over there and you were like, and now you're like, hey man, can I buy you some coffee? You know what I'm saying? But just know what your ideal client is. The smart people in this room are the ones that know exactly who they're looking for and how much they can help that person. So first thing I had to do was I had to say, hey, who do I want to work with the most? Who can I provide the most value to? Then you got to nurture them and stay in front of them. Here's how I do it. I keep a list in my phone of my most important relationships I want to continually nurture. And my goal is very simple: to stay positive in those bank accounts, to make sure I always have relationship capital. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that when it's time for me to ask for a favor or for something, I'm not that guy that they're like, dude, every time you call me, you ask me for something. If you give people value when you go to make the offer, they're going to say yes. And that's what the competition doesn't understand. That's what a lot of people don't get. They're transactional. And then lastly, here's one of the most important parts. You have to become useful in order to build great relationships. If you have no use, if you have no brand, if you have no knowledge, if you don't invest in yourself, if you don't have any connections, you're not useful at all. So the reason you guys come to events like this is so that you can go back, bring your relationships more value, and then you now have relationship capital with those people. You guys follow? Yeah. All right, last one. So I like to take people's souls. A lot of times when potential clients or current clients fly out and we go to dinner, I'll pick out a nice ass steakhouse. The tab will be $2,500. And I'll already have dropped my card off at the desk before they even bring the tab out. They'll bring me the receipt. And I'll be like, I got your ass. You thought you were going to pay for dinner. No way. Not a chance. Because when you show people that you're willing to give up front without an expectation of anything in return, I'm not doing that to get you to do business with me. I'm doing that because I know that if I give, somehow, some way, it's going to come back to me. Does that make sense? That's why I give to the church. That's why I give to the foundations I believe in, because I know that if I take care of people, God's got my back. You guys understand that? Yep. That's my number one rule. And lastly, like, take care of your people, right? One thing I learned from Andy that he always harps on, I'm super grateful for at the LA group, is we all stay grounded. Our team's super loving, right? All of us have the best relationships with our husbands, our wives, because, like Andy, you'll get fired if you actually, like, you know, treat your relationship like crap. You'll get fired. Imagine that. Imagine a company where things operate like that. People would probably have better relationships. So, lastly, just take care of your people, dude. Like, we got an amazing team. I have an amazing fiance, and like, without the team, without the people in my circle, I wouldn't be who I am. Like, some people say they're self-made. I don't believe in that. I believe that rooms like this made me. I believe that people like the people that are on my team and a lot of you guys are what made me to who I am. And I think we all sharpen each other, right? You guys ever heard the Bible verse, iron sharpens iron? All right, now in summary, a couple things. So we talked about the 3 secrets. We're all qualified in here. Everybody's qualified. Okay, I showed you my background. How many of you guys can relate to that? How many of you guys have hit rock bottom before? And how many of you guys are like ready to go out here and terrorize your competition? I can't hear you though. Okay, good. That's what I'm talking about. So that wraps it up. And then last thing, if any of you guys enjoyed it and you want to plug in more, I'm going to be running a webinar at the end of the month. All you guys got to do, just scan this link right here. And then, you'll get sent over the deets, and then we can plug in and kick some butt. But I'm going to wrap up there, and I appreciate you guys, man. Let's kick some ass.
Give it up for Brendan Whitting.